going to talk about fractured fairy tales that you are going to write.
Woohoo!
Now, I read several fractured fairy tales. Explain to me what a fractured fairy tale is. It's kind of a tongue twister. Fractured fairy tale. Say that really fast. So, it's taking a traditional fairy tale and doing what with it? Olivia?
It's like changing some things.
Changing the storyline a bit, characters, but keeping the integrity of the traditional fairy tale. So, what you need to do is start thinking, formalizing ideas. What fairy tale do you want to take yours from?
I already know.
So remember we wrote that big list, gosh, that was a long time ago, of all the traditional fairy tales. Yes, Grayson?
Can we mix two fairy tales together?
Sure. Absolutely. Now, I want your fairy tales to start with what?
Once upon a time.
Yes.
Once upon a time.
And I want them to end how?
And they live happily ever after.
Yes. That is like the fairy tale quintessential beginning and ending. Just have to. It is. So, you don't have to actually use they live happily ever after, but something similar.
And they live normally ever after.
Boringly ever after, whatever. Does anyone have ideas what they want to take their fairy tale from, the traditional fairy tale? Jonathan. Pooey the Bear. That really isn't a fairy tale. That is a story. So there is a difference. So Pooey the Bear is not an actual fairy tale. It is a story.
Sadly, I'd like
So that probably would not work since it's not a fairy tale. So you have to maybe think of Pooey the Bear. Christian. Shrek, yes. You can. Shrek actually has, like Grayson was asking, can I put more than one fairy tale and put them together? Shrek has several fairy tales all mixed up together. Yes. All the and I don't know which one, the second or third, a lot of the princesses are in the movie. So that is an example, Grayson, of mixing fairy tales together and how you can do that, or what is an example of that. Grayson. You can do Goldilocks and the Three Chickens?
What? Yeah!
Just kidding. Very good. I love it. Olivia.
Snow White.
Snow White. Helen.
Snow White.
Snow White. Awesome.
Pocahontas.
Pocahontas. Very nice.
Awesome.
Yes. So, fairy tales. Are they based on reality? No. They're very whimsical, very fun, entertaining. So you have to really use your imagination. Now,
Once upon a time.
that is how I want all your fairy tales to start. Now, this is not a structured paper like we have done in the past, where you have a stringent topic or introduction with 3 body parts, paragraphs, and a conclusion.
Can we do 3 paragraphs?
You can. However, I don't want you to think of it as structured. I want you to think of it more of, well, we can have structure, obviously, in all writings. How long does your fairy tale have to be?
At least a paragraph.
I think in order to write it, so here, let's do this. Fairy tale has to have one main character, right? Whether it's a princess or a king or a queen or Shrek or whoever, but you're not going to actually use Shrek. You could use a Shrek-like character. One. And then what does it always have to have? You have to have a what? There's a good person and a one villain.
Dun, dun, dun.
It's very much like what we did in our comic books, correct? Where we had the good character, the bad character, the hero and the heroine, the villain. Now, you can have more than one. I'm just saying you have to have at least one of these. There has to be a conflict, right? Every fairy tale has a conflict. What is a conflict? What is a conflict? James? A problem. The princess fell asleep and had to be kissed by the prince in order to wake up. I knew you would like that.
It doesn't even make sense.
Oh, but fairy tales do not have to make sense. It's all about they live happily ever after.
I wouldn't want to
They ride off into the sunset, into the castle.
How do you ride into a sunset?
Right out into the sunset. So anyway, so they have to have a conflict. How is your conflict going to be resolved? You have to have a resolution of the conflict. And then so you have to have, oh, and also you have to create your setting. What is a setting? What is your setting, Wensheen? Where it's taking place. Now, fairy tales do not always have realistic settings. They have settings in make-believe lands. Now, Narnia is interesting as we start reading, because Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, goes into a different world. So it's kind of like a fairy tale in that aspect, as we will find out. But not your typical feel-good, happy, they live happily ever after, well, kind of, fairy tale. So you have to have a setting, preferably a setting in a place far, far away. Different setting, a different world. Any questions? So you're just going to start coming up with some ideas, characters. Again, one hero or heroine, one villain. You can have more than that. Okay, you can have more than one character. What's that?
18 villains.
You can have a whole group of villains. Ooh, that breeze feels good. Where's that coming from? Oh, it's coming from that door. So, questions. Luke.
Can we take characters from different fairy tales?
Yes. You can. But I don't want them named the same. You can kind of be inspired by characters from a different fairy tale. What were you thinking? Give me an example. Donald Duck is not a fairy tale. That is a comic.
Donald Duck.
Donald Duck is not a fairy tale. And I do not want actual characters. Now, when I read all of my fractured fairy tales, Little Red Cowboy Hat, my Jack and the,
And the beanstalk.
wasn't Jack and the Beanstalk,
No,
it
it
was
was
Kate and the Beanstalk, all of mine had a flip of that traditional fairy tale. So, Princess and the Pizza. They all had a different skew, different variation. Now I have those back here. So they took the storyline and they changed it. They changed the characters. They changed what was happening. I didn't read this one. There's two others. Here's one that I read. traditional fairy tale, Olivia? Princess and the Pea. Once Upon, cool motorcycle dude.
What? I've heard of this book.
And then we read this one, The Princess and the Pizza.
Wait, that was good.
Yeah, we read this a while ago. So these are all, you know what, you like, oh, that comes from Princess and the Pea, but completely different. That's what I want you to do. I want you to take a traditional fairy tale and switch it up. Kind of have the same storyline, but even the storyline is switched up a bit. The princess is making pizza. So, now the one, I think the one that was most similar was Kate and the Beanstalk, because she climbed the beanstalk and there was the giant. So that one was probably the most similar to the traditional fairy tale. M.
The princess and the pizza, her pizzas were very unusual. Yeah.
Right. Well, fairy tales are often unusual. They have unusual characters. They have unusual creatures. Animals talk. Like in Shrek, Donkey talks. Puss in Boots talks. Shrek is an ogre. These are not common everyday things that you see in the real world. That's what makes them a fairy tale. We should have fun. Yes, Ella.
So, I have a question.
Yes.
You have like two different fairy tales together.
Yes.
You use one and then you affect one, like kind of change it up.
So you're saying take one fairy tale, and then you are taking a fairy tale and fracturing it. That's what we're doing. We're taking a traditional fairy tale, like Princess and the Pea, or Little Red Riding Hood, Little Red Cowboy Hat. Now, I will give you this. Like this one did have the wolf in it, did it not? So if there is a character in the fairy tale that you feel is very integral part of the story, I will allow you to have that character in it. I don't want you to use like Cinderella, Snow White. I don't want to use those kind of names because that's too much with the fairy tale. But you can use that character, kind of switch it up. Instead of the Little Red Riding Hood, she was Little Red with the red cowboy hat, right? So you can take that name and you can switch it. You can change it. You can tweak it for your own fairy tale. Does that make sense? So like the Cinderella with the Yetis, it was Ella instead of Cinderella. It was Cinderella. So that name changed. So do you get what I'm saying as far as how you can take the traditional fairy tale and tweak the names, tweak the stories, and make it your own? Yes, Helen.
If it's like snow, let's say you're doing Snow White, can you like keep snow and then like add something on?
Sure.
Like instead of one.
It's like Snowflake,
Snow dog.
Snow Blizzard,
Snow dog.
Snow Yeti. Yes. Yes, you can. Any other questions? Is it clear as mud or is it as clear as water? You get it? You understand? Okay. Because we've been doing this now for a while. So I've been giving you a lot of examples. Now I'm going to put these books, didn't read all of them. I'll put them in the back if you want to look at them for inspiration. This one's really cute too. It's a different version of Goldilocks and the Three Bears from the little perspective of the bear. There's no words.
That bear is cute.
Yes. So I'm going to put these back here. If you want to look at them for inspiration, you may. Put them right back here. All right. You may start writing, getting ideas. Get a piece of paper out. If you want to start writing, you can write on these sheets however you like. Whatever helps you. All right, that is, now we're just going to write, so I'm going to say goodbye.